Welcome to today's webinar, 7 Habits to Prompt AI with Confidence. My name is Susan Harrell. It's my privilege to produce, and I've now been starting to present more and more at some of our sessions, but to produce a series of webinars for Neovation. I'm very happy that you could make time for us today, whether you are here in person live or if you are watching the recording after the fact. My presenting partner, Tricia, was not able to be with us, so stick handling the questions is my assistant, Gabby, who might be chiming in to help us identify the questions, and she'll be providing some answers as well in the chat. So we're really pleased to get things rolling. So for those of you who are meeting us maybe for the first or second time, we are with Neovation. We are a learning and development company. We do custom course builds. We have e-learning software of various kinds, from full-on LMS to a micro LMS called Briva. We have a micro learning platform called AutoLearn as well. But we have made a commitment to be fully fueled by AI. So we are teaching our teams to use AI tools at every level of our jobs, not to replace people, but to enhance their productivity. So we bring a lot of expertise from our own journey using AI. To share with you in some of our AI focused webinar series like today. We've been around since 2012, and we provide services to millions of learners and hundreds of companies all around the world. So if you didn't know us before, that's just a quick introduction to who we are. And as I mentioned, I'm Susan Harrell. I'm the Director of Sales Enablement, and Gabby works with me, and she will be sending you the recordings after the session. If you've attended previous sessions, you've heard us talk about our Practical Prompting Academy, and this is really the genesis for why this particular webinar has come to be, because we are launching the new version of the Practical Prompting Academy. It is live and ready to go. Please don't jump over there right now. We'll give you the link towards the end of the session. Stay with us for a bit. But it is something that we consider our community give back, because we are working very hard to master all things AI for all aspects of our team. And we want to share as much of that knowledge with you. It is totally free. It will always be free. And we hope that you enjoy taking those courses and they bring you some benefits. So in today's session, I want to talk about what it is and what it is not. So this is more of a thinking session than a technical deep dive into very specific prompts. There is not going to be a list of absolutely magical one-size-fits-all prompts for you to memorize. It's going to be more about learning how to communicate with AI and how to get more out of it. There will be a recording. You don't have to take notes. Don't worry about screen captures. You will get a whole package of stuff at the end. There'll be a resource package as well, with some exercises and things that you can play with. There will also be a survey that pops up once we end the webinar session. And I'm asking that you please take a second to consider filling out that survey. It really helps us with our programming. We want to make sure that the topics we're presenting are going to meet your needs as our audience. So help us program forward with the things you want to see. And throughout the webinar, please use the chat box to give us emojis, thumbs up, thumbs down, hearts, happy faces, scowly faces, whatever you got. And use the chat to ask questions. Gabby will make sure that I see the ones that she can't answer. We might save some of them up for the end as well, if they require a little more explanation than we want to give in the middle of the flow of the webinar itself. So to start off, a bit of a straw poll. I imagine there are people here with from every depth of experience with AI, from people that are just getting started to people that are using it possibly every day. So where do you fall in? If you could just give us a quick A, B, C, or D to let us know where you fit in. So we're seeing people that use it all the time. Good. A couple C's. Okay, so we've got a pretty experienced group. Excellent. B, D. Great. Well, even for those of you who have more experience using AI tools, I'm hoping that this will help you envision your communication with your AI tools in a different way. I know that when we started using AI here, I had file folders full of static prompts that I would archive very carefully and I'd bring them out and I would retool them. And I was trying to continually craft the ideal perfect prompt and have it feel somewhat evergreen. And there are some prompts that absolutely are, like the prompts that I use to summarize my daily meeting notes and things like that. But more and more, AI works best when we communicate with it in a very specific way, using a couple great habits that are going to progress your use of AI. So everybody's at least had their hands in the tools, so the intimidation factor is going to be low. Maybe one or two people in the A's I thought go by, but that's excellent. Thank you for jumping in and participating. Appreciate that. So somewhere along the way, whether it was when you first started using AI or when you moved to a new AI tool or your AI tool started rolling out new features, and I'm looking at you, Notebook LLM. Oh my goodness, that thing evolves. You tried your tool, you tried AI, you got a weird result, and then you just kind of said, yeah, no, I'm not going to play with that anymore. And you moved away or you went back to what you had been using before. That wasn't necessarily the AI tool failing you. Um, as friends of mine say, that sounds like a you problem, said kindly. It's more a communication problem. And communication problems are absolutely fixable because it just means changing the way that we approach the tools that we're using. So I talk to my AI tools like they're a human being. I really do. I chat with them, I talk to them. And I find that over time it gets to know me better and it understands how I phrase things. So the conversation definitely it evolves. So when you're starting out with a new AI tool or you want to revisit your use with existing tools, think about your AI tools like they are absolutely brilliant interns. It's their first day with your company. They're super fast. They're going to be able to read everything you throw at them. They're going to have, a sort of a basic understanding of the world at large through their integration with the web. But it doesn't know you. It doesn't know your company. It doesn't know your world. So you have to continually give it context. You have to fill in the gaps in its understanding because it's like that quote, you know what you don't know, but sometimes AI doesn't know what it doesn't know. And it's just going to confidently give you information thinking that it's on the right track. It also takes your instructions literally. So the more that you can refine your prompts and the way you communicate with it, the more specific it will be and how it communicates results back to you. So another good analogy is that you are the chef. You are Gordon Ramsay. You are Grant-Schatz. You have the big picture. You know everything about every ingredient. You know the whole story. You know why table 6 should never be served mushrooms and table 5 should only get seafood and no beef. You have all that information, but your line cook does not. So it needs that ticket, that prompt, to tell it exactly what to make for every plate that it's going to deliver out to you. And I'm sure enough of you have watched enough cooking shows that that metaphor will make some sense. You can outsource the execution, absolutely, but you cannot outsource the good judgment that it takes to get to the right result. You will be the only one that knows if there is enough salt or sugar in the output for it to make sense for you. So when I'm working with my team, I see three major modes where people get hung up. And the word failure is kind of harsh. But their prompt is too vague. It doesn't even give the AI tool an idea of what a good answer should look like. Or there's no context. It doesn't provide the tool with enough information about what it needs to know to get towards the right answer. Or there's no direction on exactly what it wants the output to look like. You don't say how long, what tone, is it a spreadsheet, is it a checklist, is it a diagram? It doesn't get specific enough that way. So again, it's a prompting problem, not a tool problem. So thinking about how I communicate with AI, aside from just talking to it like a person, um, these are the things that I always try to include in my prompts. So, who do I need my AI tool to be in this instance? Do I need it to be a researcher? Do I need it to be a statistician? Do I need it to be a marketing professional? Do I need it to be a sales leader? Do I need it to be my boss to understand the output that I'm going to put into an executive summary? So I think about that and then I tell it who it is and I give it some context around that role and how that role should shape the output. And then I think, what does it need to know? What information do I need to give it that it's going to draw upon? And also the context of my business case, my customer file, whatever it takes to give it that bucket to hold the answer in. I tell it exactly what I want it to do. I want it to give me 5 social media posts for LinkedIn and 5 social media posts for Blue Sky. Now, one of those has hashtags, one of them doesn't. One of them can have a link, one of them might not. So I get very, very specific about what I need it to do and what I want that output to look like. So no crazy formatting, not in Markdown language. It needs to be a spreadsheet. It needs to be something I can cut and paste into Word, which is different than what I can cut and paste sometimes into a Google Sheet. Do I want it to render as an HTML page? What do I need it to be at the end of the day? And that shapes at the highest level where that prompt is going to go and the output that I'm going to get. So let's look at an example. So I'm running a small accounting firm. And one of my best clients has missed a payment. And I need to send them an email. So I want it to be brief. I want it to be friendly. So here's the role. You're a warm but professional copywriter. The context. I run an accounting firm. Clients missed a payment. What do I need the output to be? The follow-up email that's firm but preserves the relationship. And keep it short. Keep it under 150 words. Pretty clear, right? So I did a bad example and a good example, one without those constraints and then with one with it. And I know that if I was a really good client and I missed a payment, I know which email I would much prefer to receive from someone who was a trusted partner to me. One that is kind of generic, form filled, kind of, not nasty, but certainly not friendly. Doesn't feel like it respects me. The other one is warmer. It can be, I can put the specifics into it. Um, and it's a little compassionate, it's understanding. And if you have questions, not, please let me know if you have any questions, but, I'm here, reach out to me. It maintains the relationship. But that's the difference between a weak prompt and a good prompt. So let's get into the habits themselves. Describe the destination, not the journey. Ask for the end result, which means you need to be clear on what that end result is supposed to look like. So there's a big difference between saying, can you help me write something about our new service? And there's a page on your website about the new service, or write a 3 sentence description for our services page based on what you know, friendly tone and no jargon. Pretty different. One is way more specific than the other. Interestingly, when I ran this experiment, the non-specific prompt, the weak prompt, gave me what I can only think of as sales and marketing word salad. Like it was a dictionary definition and how it helps organizations, and it was dry and boring and had big words and long sentences. It's not going to speak to people that I'm going to put this into a landing page for. The other prompt, the stronger prompt, gave me much less text. We help businesses ditch the bottlenecks and get more done without adding more to their plate. Wow, that's engaging because every business has bottlenecks. I'm not going to read the whole prompt to you, but it definitely has more of a marketing sizzle to it. It's going to achieve the desired result far better. Now, as I point this out, because a good result can be much shorter than a long result. Another example of this is working with creating go-to-market strategies for various products or manuals. And in the past, I have let AI run loose and create like a 50-page go-to-market strategy for a new product. But then I start looking at it and I realized that the AI tool assumed that I had a team of 25 with all kinds of specialists built in and infinite time and unlimited budget. Well, that's not going to work for anybody. So then I would go in and start refining my prompts to say we're a X number person team. We have X amount for budget. We have X schedule to get us to the end of the year and have it start refining that go-to-market plan. And it got exponentially shorter by 50 to 70%, but it gave me actionable information. So don't be afraid of a short result if it gets you to where you want to go, because it's the end result that is valuable to you. It's got to be something that you can use. The second habit is AI is your friend, Skynot, notwithstanding, I have to make a joke there, but it can help you use it better. Ask it how it can help. It removes that whole blank page, blank prompt, where do I start piece. If you give it the context and kind of tell it who it needs to be in that, solving for the end result, you can have a prompt like this and ask it to tell you how it can help based on what you need it to know. Now, this is different than asking it to help you build a prompt, which will be later, but you can give it a scenario and it can absolutely give you ways that it can help, the ways that it can hire itself out to you that's going to be beneficial. And there might be some ways that are obvious, absolutely. Email drafting, that's easy. Client communication, of course. Sales help, whatever. But things like checklists and standard operating procedures, it might be able to collate and combine some of your bank of existing documents into much more usable and serviceable tools for your team. So ask it how it can help. Give it a project. Ask it how it can make it better for you. And you can apply that, ask it how to help you to a whole bunch of scenarios. So here's two examples. I ran one prompt, Gabby ran the other prompt. There, and I was really intrigued to see that while the results were different, um, there was some commonalities, and it's all around communication. And this just, we were talking about this, and you're giving us ideas for ways that we can cross-pollinate these kinds of results. So there's all kinds of ways that it can help you. So play with that and see how it's going to shape other ways that you can use AI. And you can use tools like Claude Cowork or whatever, or Perplexity Computer to set up recurring tasks where it can look at your inbox every morning and give you a list of your top 5 or 10 priority tasks, summarize your meetings, do all kinds of things on a recurrent basis, depending on your tools. Gabby, I'm going to take a sip of water. Do we have any questions?
Not for now.
Okay, great. Just wanted to check in. Thanks. The third habit is don't ask for the world. Ask for things section by section in order to help guide your AI tool correctly, and you'll get much more depth and you'll retain much more control. So it's really easy to give it a huge project and just expect that it's going to know what you want it to do. But if you work on that project step by step by talking about, you know, who in a communication example, for example, like this one for a marketing campaign, who is the audience that we're speaking to? Don't just say, I want to create a marketing campaign to reach people that buy tinned soup. Who are we speaking to? Are we speaking to busy families? Are we speaking to, seniors and couples? Who are we talking to? What do they need to hear? Have it ferret out the key messages based on that ideal customer profile. And then once you agree that the messages are correct, then you get it to create the campaigns. So this way you're correcting confident misinformation. You're able to supplement with more context, and your end result will be better. Now, does this feel like it may take more time? It doesn't really in practice because there's no point in your tools giving you a big pile of information, some of which may be incorrect or just not usable, or speaking to a slightly different audience than you really are targeting. And it doesn't matter what your use case is, breaking your jobs down into smaller chunks can be really, really valuable. Part of that, too, is habit number 4. Train your AI by asking it for its approach before you get to the full output. So give it all of the information, tell it who it is, give it the context, tell it what you want the output to be like. But before we get to that post, give me your approach. Tell me how you're going to approach this. Again, a chance for you to tweak, to improve the conversation, to remove confident misinformation. And then you'll probably get something like this. So it gave me the hook, speaking directly to whatever the hesitation was. Most professionals feel like AI isn't for them, what the core message is, and what the call to action is. And then I could say, no, I want it to be a high friction, urgent call to action. So then it would reshape the message. So we distilled around it a little bit, and then we got to this post as the example. So I asked it to create a post to promote this webinar, basically. And you can say, do not include emojis because not all platforms like them. But this tells you what the output is going to look like before you ask it to create a month's worth of social media posts or an entire bank of client emails or whatever it is you're asking it to do. So have it work through an outline so you can make sure that you are on the right track. Part of this is moving from being vague to really scoping your requests. So back to our cleaning company example, I could say, write me a cold email for my cleaning company. And I shudder to think what I might see. But here we're applying the habits that we've learned so far. You're a sales consultant, conversational, non-pushy. Um, I'm running this company. I'm targeting in this campaign dental offices. I want to sell them my cleaning services. So write me an email to their office manager because that's the person who makes the purchasing decisions. And the goal is an intro call, not a sale. Keep it under 120 words. Keep it friendly, specific, professional. So we've gone from being very, very vague to being much more tightly scoped. So here's the results of the vague prompt. I get 1,000 of these in my inbox every day. I just delete, 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 delete. However, I get much fewer of the other kind of email, the scoped output email, where it actually builds a case where I might consider if I was in the correct city and it was a service that I needed, I might consider it because it seems to be speaking a little more closely to me. And when you keep in mind that all communication is receiver focused, anytime that you're using AI tools to create any kind of external documentation that other people are going to read, you have to keep your audience fully in mind to make sure that it's speaking at the right reading level, at the right skill set level, to the right department, to the right decision maker, to make sure that the message resonates and lands. Everything from sales emails to marketing campaigns to internal documentation to training documentation within your team. So the vague versus scoping piece is really important as a subset of the whole context piece. Also, your first output is not going to be your best output. So it's going to write you a post and it's going to be not quite the right tone, so make it punchier. It's going to be way too long or way too short. Sometimes AI wants to conserve space and credits and it will write things that are much tighter than it needs to be, and you need it to be more expansive. Sometimes it will write you a half a page when you really need 3 sentences. So you get to tighten that up. You get to have it end with a better call to action. You can, in the case of a social media post, the tone on the different channels are very different. So you can have it write a post toned for LinkedIn, or let's say in an office setting, an email toned for your vice president versus an email that is toned or a social media post that is toned for Twitter, or in a business case, an email that is toned to your colleague or a subordinate. Tone matters in all of those cases. And then you can ask it to give you alternates, different opening lines, different tonal lines. You can have it sound like Morgan Freeman. You can ask it to sound like Michelle Obama. You can ask it to sound like Bill Maher. You can get different tonal inflections in it as well as you iterate and iterate and iterate until you find the right voice and the right tone for what you need, whether it's an internal memo, a client email, a social media post, standard operating procedures document, whatever you need it to be when it grows up. So that iteration is key to having the right output come at the right time. So this habit of scoping your recommendations is really important because you need those constraints in order to make sure that it's going to fit the bucket that you're looking for. And things like recommend only 3 options because I've had it give me a list of 50 that I wasn't scoping properly. I don't have time for that. I just need to know its best recommendations. If I'm going to use its intelligence, my intern's absolute brilliant intelligence, then I need to make sure that I'm asking for the best output possible. So here are some use cases that you can play with. Um, if you have a refund policy or a website terms and conditions document or something, and you would like to get a summary of that in plain English, there's a huge plain English movement happening now for legal documents, um, then give it a try through your AI tool and see what it comes back with. You want it to be friendly and firm, but you want it summarized. See what you get. Also, Meeting notes. Oh my goodness. You can take meeting notes and transcripts and have it deliver actionable items, summaries, executive summaries, who is responsible for what. You can have it pull deadlines out of the conversation. So valuable. We use those tools every day. If you are envisioning or hiring for a job description, or you're trying to find a gap in your team that you want to fill, you can use AI to analyze everybody else's roles, find that gap, and then make a job description for it. You can take an old job description that existed maybe before all of these new tools, and you want to expand what people need to have to be successful in your field. You can ask it to write a job description that will be contemporary and fresh and take into consideration all of the different things that you needed to take into consideration. And then you can tweak the tone as well. So these are just some ideas that you can play with, but there really is nothing that you can't ask your tools to get better results. So we're a little over halfway through the habits. I hope that some of them are resonating with you. But now, as you're thinking about these things and thinking about your own unique use cases, I'm curious about where you feel individually your biggest block is in improving your use of AI. Not starting, because I think just about everybody here has had some hands-on experience. But when you think about improving your skill set, where are you running into problems? If you want to jump this into the chat, that would be great. Either you don't know where to start, or just working with AI seems to take too long. You're chasing your own tail sometimes. The results are not specific enough. That would be B, or you're not sure that you can trust it. And while you're filling this in, I want to talk a little bit about the trust factor with AI tools. I've been working with AI tools pretty much since they came online, and I have seen an incredible evolution in both their ability to deliver correct answers, but also in their ability to keep information secure. The best way to have, I'm going to talk about the security piece first. The best way to have secure information that is not being used to train the larger language models out there, that's not feeding back into the web, is to have a paid instance of your AI tool. You can sign up for most of them with a free account, and that's great for a little bit of experimentation or possibly for your personal use. But if you're using it in a work context, I very much recommend having a paid instance. Some of them are pretty affordable, 20, $25 a month, because that guardrails your account. Terms and conditions may apply. Check the terms on your individual tools, but that small investment is your best security blanket. In terms of trusting information, there was a time when AI tools seemed to cut out at about 2 years. Um, that it was not familiar with the web up to about 2 years ago. But now most of them are contemporary and in real time with information. That's been a big leap. And it's really easy to remember the old days of AI somewhat nostalgically and the barriers that they may have presented. But it is an entirely brave new world, my friends. And they are doing so many different things. And did the AI put the poll responses and the slide in order? Yes, it did. When I asked if that was the case when I was building the slides out. Um, This session is enlightening about the use of AI at work for my clients. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that you're seeing some value in it. We're going to talk about how to set up internal training for your teams or your clients. And that's also sidebar, something that we can offer as well as a consulting service is some AI training. But moving on with the bulk of this. So thank you for your ideas. So lots of D's, C's, or B's. Takes too long if you want to do a good job. And there are ways that you can streamline that. Again, as you learn to talk to your tools better, you will find that your output gets faster and faster without having to maintain a huge bank of prompts that you have to go back to and refer to and tweak all the time. It just becomes a natural conversational flow with your AI tool. So thank you for your input on that. I appreciate it. Yes, environmental. I was hoping somebody would bring that up. Every individual person has to find their own way through the ethical questions around AI use. Um, and it's a tough one because I consider myself to be a green person and I use AI tools all the time. And I take a little bit of flack from my better half about water sources and things like that. But there is unfortunately always a cost to doing business. There is an environmental cost to roads. There's an environmental cost, back at the turn of the last century or before that, actually, to the cost of putting railroads across the land and the disruption that would happen. Now we talk about pipelines. We each have to find our way through and make peace. Some of the suggestions would be donating to carbon capture organizations or water preservation efforts to offset your AI use, the way a lot of websites and companies do carbon capture um, paybacks to offset usage, but that is entirely a personal decision. But it is a real one, and thank you for bringing that up so we could acknowledge it. Find your way through and raise it as a discussion point within your organizations. The sixth habit is one that many people don't ever really think of doing. Now, I use Claude for the most part, and I use various facets of Claude. I use Claude Code to build things on the web, and I use Claude Cowork to organize my weeks. And I am a fairly new person to the Claude Cowork space, so I am avidly learning about that. So give me a couple weeks, and I'll be able to talk about it with far more confidence. Um, but I also use Perplexity, which is another AI tool that is a bit of an AI aggregator where it uses different AI tools within the Perplexity wrapper. And I have on occasion continued to use ChatGPT. And I will take anytime that I need to absolutely verify that factual information or data-driven information or analysis is correct, I will take my output and I will run it through one of my other preferred tools. And then I will take a minute to compare and to see if it's pointed out any holes or any flaws. In the earlier days of AI, some of the AI tools were, and I will not name them, I will not shame them, but some of the earlier tools were notorious for giving you a document and then you would say citations, please, and it would give you citations, but they would have made up the citations. And it's only funny now in hindsight because at the time it was very frustrating because we couldn't actually verify the numbers and the data that the AI was telling us was real in those documents. That seems to have diminished greatly. I have not run into self-generated citations for a while. However, trust but verify. I still check every citation. If it's going to give me a fact that involves a number or a quote, I ask it to provide the source citation, and then I check those citations, or I have an AI tool check those citations from my original document. Because you can accept a certain amount of the output as very likely being true and accurate. There might be a few things that are phrased in such a way that they are questionable, but dates, facts, quotes, data might need some outside verification. And again, this will help you prompt differently in the next iteration of that project. Here's my absolute favorite of the habits that I've developed this year. I get AI to write my AI prompt. Yes, I do. I tell it what I need, and then I say, write me a prompt. And then it writes me a prompt. And I look at the prompt and I go, still needs something. And we work on narrowing that prompt down or expanding it out, depending which way it needs to go. And then I get a better prompt that is already formatted in the way that AI is starting to think. And then I run that prompt. And if I don't get the output I want, then I feed that output back and I say, this is what our prompt got me. We need to refine the prompt to get a better prompt. So I'm using the tool to lessen rather my own cognitive load about how to make a good prompt. Now, doesn't mean you can completely abandon your prompt writing to your AI tools, but you can use it as that trusted assistant in the same way you have somebody look over your shoulder to say, is that straight or does that make sense or can you read the sentence for me? You can get it to help you build your prompts in this way, and that way um, it will help you refine stronger and faster. So I had the prompt in the previous slide, and then this is what I got as a compare. A much better prompt that has stronger constraints, has more specificity, and reinforcing that the tone should feel human and not salesy, and who it's actually from. So again, just a great example of how you can use AI tools to improve your use of AI tools. I want to take a minute to talk about what AI is genuinely bad at. Actually, I'm going to take a minute to take a look at the comments. Yeah, data centers. Um, Sorry. Yes. Yes, absolutely. You can have your AI tools integrate with your Google Docs or other tools like OneNote and have them actually be able to read the documents and provide insight that way as well. Um, and what is a good way to keep track of your prompts and outputs? I just keep them as part of my project folders. I'll have a tab in my Google Docs where I'll have the prompts that I've been using and refining. And once I have a prompt that I'm not using anymore or that I've um, discarded as not being helpful, I don't keep it. I try to keep like the last best good prompt for my various projects, especially around social media content creation, which is a big part of my role. Um, but just keeping it with your project, I find for me works better rather than keeping it in like a big archive of generic prompts, because the the habits say that that prompt should be specific to what you're working on, as opposed to being generic. Um, just reading some of the questions here. Okay, how I could best get results. Okay. So I have as a part of my custom instructions to give me an example of what a better prompt would be so I can review at the end to help my future prompts. Absolutely. That's what we're saying. That is exactly the right approach. Thank you for sharing that. So, coming back to what AI is genuinely bad at, it doesn't understand relationships. It doesn't understand why you speak to a certain client in a certain way unless you tell it. And we all have clients that deserve some special handling for a variety of reasons. It doesn't understand um, the context of how all the parts fit together unless we tell it. It will make assumptions about things. It lacks really nuanced judgment. It's a little bit black and white with way fewer than 50 shades of gray in between. It will state things with confidence, and you have to really sometimes push on some of the things that it says to make sure that it has the specificity and the flavor that you need. I wouldn't want to say that AI is unethical, but it does need the guidelines. Excuse me, just one second. It's so warm here. Um, when it comes to ethics and accountability, what it might need to know is state, national, regional, corporate laws, guidelines, terms and conditions, policies of behavior. I can give you a really innocuous example. So, avid gardener, and I have now gardened my front lawn. There's no more lawn. I've gardened my back. It's all garden. I'm now hitting the boulevard. And in our city, we are allowed to plant boulevard gardens. There are city bylaws that constrain how big those gardens can be and how tall the plants are. So I gave my AI tool a description of where I wanted to plant my garden, how big I wanted it to be, the kinds of plants that I wanted to put in it. I wanted prairie naturals and I wanted things that didn't require a lot of water, that were drought resistant, blah, 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 all kinds of specifics. Make me a schematic of what plants should go where because I want it to be taller in the middle and lower at the edges in this plot. Okay. It came back with great recommendations, but it told me that three of the plants that I had listed that I wanted were taller than the City of Winnipeg guidelines for how high plants could be in a boulevard garden. It had gone out and found that there was constraints that I hadn't even thought of at the time. So if you know that there are regulations and restrictions, put that into your prompt. If you know that there are governance, corporate governance or association governance, if you have to deal with state or local regulations, include that in because it may or may not find the right legal advice for you. In the same way that we should not trust medical advice from ChatGPT, but take it to our human doctors and say, what about this? We shouldn't necessarily trust vague legal permissions from AI unless we read through it and we can verify it against statutes and regulations that we know exist in the real world. And we have to hold it accountable. But once we start telling it, no, that's incorrect, it will remember and it will make fewer mistakes every time. I won't say it won't make the same mistake twice, but it makes fewer and fewer mistakes with every iteration as it gets to know you, like that trusted intern who knows way more 3 months into the job than it did day three. The other thing is that checking that the information is current or the most current. So that's what I tend to ask for, most current or most recent information. Because sometimes, depending on how its source information is dated, it might not necessarily be able to tell how old some information is because it will lack that context. So some tools have sort of a built-in aggregator where it will pick up the most recent information first, but again, trust but verify. You want to make sure that it's giving you the most current data, but that's just one or two words worked into your prompt where it matters. AI will never tell you that it doesn't know. It just won't. It will make great assumptions, which is why every time I do any sort of major project prompting, my last question is before we do the output, here's what I want. We've got a good prompt. Before we do anything else, do you have any questions for me? And then amazingly, it starts coming back with really, really good questions that I have to answer. What I like about, oh, and I also tell it, ask me one question at a time because you get this laundry list of like 5 or 7 questions that you then have to respond to and go back to and hopscotch back and forth. So I ask it, ask me one question at a time. What else do you need to know? And it can identify what's missing because I've asked it to look at what it doesn't know. One of the things that I like about Claude these days is that it will give me its question, but then it'll give me 4 possible answers based on its understanding. And that helps me again check for that confident misinformation. So I can pick A, B, C, or other, and then fill in the information that I want it to use. And then we just iterate again. Claude is now my best friend. I hate to say it. I was a Perplexity fan, but now I'm Claude 100%. So by asking it to ask you questions and then feeding it back what it doesn't know, again, you're continually refining the context and the output that you're going to be getting. So let's talk about where people get stuck. And it's really easy, and it can just be with a new component of the tool that you're familiar with. I always take a bit of a jaded view towards, new and improved because sometimes new and improved just makes it longer and harder until you get your head around the way the new features can work for you. But if you push through, the new tools that are coming out through the AI platforms are really, really worth the time investment to learn them. So we open the tool for the first time, we play with it, we get a bad result, it feels off, it's not for me, it doesn't work, and we don't come back. This approach will break that loop, hopefully for you and for members on your team. It's okay to be learning. This is brand new technology, and I tell you that it is changing faster than we can keep up with it. That's okay. I feel completely inadequate most days when I talk to my boss, who is light years ahead of me in his AI use on an entirely different scope. He teaches me all the time things that I didn't know that I could do. I try to pass that on to the members of my team as well. But it's okay sometimes for Susan to feel a little bit dumb because, yeah, I could have done that. And who is my boss? My boss is Dan Bellhouse, and he is the founder and CEO of Neovation. I've worked for him for about 20 years. He is amazing. That's my pitch. So I wanted to give you some training wheels that you can play with or you can work with your team to play with. So depending on your role, I tried to mix this up a little bit. Anything from a sales email to a new prospect to writing a social post, maybe even about attending this webinar. I hope it's kind. To writing an email to your customers, summarizing some meeting notes, writing a job description. Pick one or two of these and just play with it and run through the habits and see if it helps you understand how to iterate and have that much more engaging and human conversation with your AI tools than maybe you have been. We kind of got caught, I think, in the early days of prompting, of feeling like it was really stilted. I know that I did, and it was more like demands and requests. And now it's much more for me. I find what works best for me is more of a conversational approach. And sometimes my AI tools and I even tell each other jokes, which is really weird. And I'm aware that it's not sentient, but boy, does it feel like that sometimes. And it often will tell me to have a great rest of my day, which is a little disconcerting too, but kind of fun. And it'll be all fun and games until Skynet takes us over. So I'm hoping that you can use these tools to help you advance your team and not just you, your team, your colleagues, maybe even manage up a little bit in your volunteer work, in your personal lives, wherever you have the opportunity to make your workload lighter, to have somebody take on take on the cognitive load of what you're doing, to speed things up, to make things better, to produce a better family schedule for what everybody's doing. Please use these skills wherever you can. And the more that you share habits, bringing this back to the workplace, we have an open Teams thread where we talk about our experiences and what we're learning and share what didn't work, what does work, new things that we found out. So everybody can learn from it at once. And there's often so much in there that it almost can feel overwhelming because we've got so many people finding out great things that we can do. But share those habits. Make it a group mind thing. Make sure that some human somewhere, whether it's the person generating it or a fresh set of eyes, and that's sort of like an editing rule. It's hard to edit your own stuff sometimes. Um, have a human review it before it goes out into the world or goes up the chain or out to a client or whatever. Um, Try to build some time in for yourself and maybe your team just to experiment, just to play. Take some of the pressure off and give yourself some grace to just fumble along and figure out how to do it better. Um, there's there's a lot of fun that can be had in learning how to do new things. So I hope you can capture some of that and reduce the stress level and increase the enjoyment factor. And then if you can bring your team together once in a while to share what you've been learning, to create some AI guidance for them, so they can be more confident in moving forward, then that just helps them as well feel more confident in approaching things the right way. So here's a slide of all of the 7 habits. You don't need to screenshot it. You'll be getting a copy of the presentation. You'll be getting a copy of the recording. You'll be getting a whole package of tools and exercises that you can use when Gabby sends things out to you. Say hi, Gabby. Um, and but just all of them in one place. Um, And I just want to come back again to everything that we've covered today lives in a different form, of course, in course form on the Practical Prompting Academy. We relaunched it with a shiny new interface. Go through it at your own pace. It is free. You don't have to put a credit card in. There's no hidden 10-day trial stuff going on. We have a team committed to updating and adding new content. We want this to become a super valuable resource for all of our friends out there because this is the way of the future. AI is part of our lives, whether we love it or hate it, it is here. So I would rather become a competent user of a new tool than feel or be possibly left behind. So that brings us to the end of our session. I might be able to get you out of here even a couple minutes early, but let me wrap things up. So we do a webinar pretty much every month. December is often a little spotty because everybody is so busy, but definitely 11 months of the year we offer a webinar on all kinds of topics. They're not all AI related. The next one is though in August. If you have anybody on your team that is building training content, or doing coaching. Um, Adam Lamb, who's one of our senior L&D team course creating people and project manager, is going to do another phenomenal session on AI assisted content intake, but specifically focusing on finding the gaps in knowledge. He is an amazing presenter, so engaging. So I hope you come back and join him if that's your jam. But we have something really special to end the year and start 2027. The world is going through, a lot of turbulence right now. The economy is challenging. There's so much going on. Um, And strategy is now such an important piece of for every business organization association that's out there, even just for us as individuals as we try to plan our careers and manage our work lives. So our good friends, Neovation's really good friends at Envision Edge, they have a new ebook slash white paper out on strategic thinking in this new day and age. And they have agreed to do a three-part webinar series for us to end 2026 and then to go into 2027 with a strategic plan. And all of the webinars are designed to stand alone, but if you take all three of them, you will get the maximum value from them. They're presented by Eric Lowen, who's a senior strategic consultant with them. He's a phenomenal person. We love working with Envision Edge. We have known them for well forever, 20 years or so. So I encourage you, if you're thinking about what do I do in this day, um, how can I prepare for the end of the year? How can I start next year strong? Please consider signing up for these webinars. If you can't attend them all, we'll send you the recordings. But I've seen the preliminary notes. They look like they are going to be fabulous. And we're so pleased to be able to offer this to end our year. Hello@neovation.com comes directly to me. You can email me anytime. You can access our past webinars as recordings if you did not know that we did them prior to today, or you want to just go back and revisit them or share them with your team. You can sign up for all of the webinars that we have on our upcoming schedule. I'm going to be booking in something for November and hopefully December as well, so it changes frequently, but you'll get emails from Gabby or through our mail list if you're part of that. And and if you are a subject matter expert on something related to learning development strategy, training, human resources, AI, something that you think that our friends would be interested in, I'd love to talk to you if you'd like to co-present a webinar with us. So totally open to that option. So looking forward to hearing from you. There will be a survey that pops up once I end the session. Please fill that out. It really does help us. That's my pitch for that. I'm not seeing any other questions. Um, Thank you so much. Oh, I'm seeing some hearts and some thumbs up, so thank you for that. I'm going to give you back 10 minutes or so of your day. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you in August, but definitely maybe September, October, January as well. It's been a pleasure presenting to you, and have a great day. And above all, stay cool and stay plugged in.